I'd like to. Okay, as we're meeting across the country in this virtual space, each of us stands on the lands of many different nations. I'd like to acknowledge the Gadigal as the traditional custodians of the land that I'm on and pay my respect to elders past, present, and emerging. Tonight, I'm very excited to have both Sam Burke and Kelly Payne join us from MLA tonight. Sam Burke is the Product and Business Development Manager and also Corporate Chef. Sam is an Executive Chef, Marketing, Hospitality Operations Manager with more than 25 years of industry experience, working with premium beef, lamb, veal and goat. Sam's knowledge of red meat spans the entire supply chain, having worked closely along with farmers, processors, food technology scientists, chefs, restaurant chains, retailers, and many more to understand and celebrate the attributes of beef and lamb to the global chef and food service community. Sam joined MLA in 2014 and has traveled across Australia and the globe promoting and celebrating the quality and diversity of premium Australian red meat to the wider community. Good evening, Sam, and thank you for joining us this evening.
Good evening, Karen. Thanks for having us.
No problem. And obviously, we've got the fabulous Kelly Payne with us tonight, who's our MSA Retail Training Facilitator for MLA. As Kelly says, he's never pleased with the status quo. His pursuit of tasty, tender beef every time has become a lifelong ambition. As the end user training facilitator for Meat Standards Australia, Kelly has been responsible for implementing the MSA program to the end user sector of the meat industry. Training and licensing hotels, global catering, butchers, wholesalers, and independent supermarkets have been the focus of the end user program for over the past 20 years. Prior to this, Kelly honed his passion for beef and sheep, owning and running a boutique meat wholesale business as a young man, delivering into the Brisbane retail butcher market from a family property on the Darling Downs. Kelly has also had the opportunity to prepare live cattle and long-fed carcass for the Japanese market in the early 90s for one of Australia's pastoral houses. To complete the product circle, Kelly implemented a new customer brand into an independent retail and restaurant supply business, supplying retail customers and large restaurants across Queensland. So a huge welcome to Kelly, and we look forward to hearing from you tonight. So welcome, Kelly.
Thank you very much, Karen.
No problem. And I'll now hand over to Mr. Burke.
Hi, Karen. Thanks very much for what a turnout. We're so excited to be back here today, and we're hoping, fingers crossed, that technology will work with us. My work camera on my PC has conked out, so I've got my work iPad on, and then I'm flashing to the computer to show our presentation, but isn't that always the way? I'd like to say a big hello to many that have joined here tonight. It's absolutely an honour to see so many food service professionals on this call, in excess of 50. A lot of them are my mentors too over the years. And it's just what an opportunity to talk about the World Quality Eating Program, Meat Standards Australia. So just a bit about Kelly and I. You heard the introduction that the lovely Karen Doyle did there. Our role is to work with professionals like yourselves to grow demand of Australian red meat on menu, and also understand the attributes of Meat Standards Australia. So what is Meat Standards Australia? A lot of people get confused. Well, I'll let what I call the MSA maestro, Kelly Payne, walk through that. But we're just going to have a bit of an agenda today. The agenda is going to be, Kelly's going to talk, introduce the program. Then he's going to talk about how Meat Standards Australia has come into effect and how the program operates. So you've got an in-depth understanding, which is very important for food service professionals. We've got a butchery demonstration. We've got a chef presentation. And then at the end, we're going to be giving away some prizes. So get your thinking caps on, food service professionals. There's going to be 5 questions, and I'll give you a bit of a hint during the presentation. And that we're giving away a handbook of Australian meats from Ozmeat. which is the Bible for Australian red meat, valued at $100. We'll give that away to one lucky person tonight. And there'll also be 4 Meat Standards Australia chef aprons that we'll send out. As part of the presentation tonight, if we could get everyone to contact the ACF, we're not allowed to take addresses because of privacy reasons. But if you contact the ACF and don't put it in the chat box either, with your address, like a private message, you will get a Meat Standards Australia Eating Quality Guide, which is the go-to for Australian red meat. It's got cut charts, it's got handbook of Australian meat numbers, it's got a bit about all the information that Kelly's going to be presenting tonight. So everyone will go away with a gift. Lucky for getting on, and the gift of knowledge, which is very important. So without further ado, Kelly, live to Queensland. How are you, mate?
Thanks, Sammy. What an introduction. Welcome, everyone. We are super pumped. You'll have to forgive me if there are any faux pas. This is my very first. I've done some training online, but this is our first meat cutting live masterclass online. So I'm so pleased that I can do it amongst friends. And we appreciate you giving us an opportunity to talk about, wow, what is now an old program, Meat Standards Australia, or we think it's old. So if people are happy to, Sam, we need to go back to the beginning before we can move on, don't we? We need to discuss how MSA came about. As Sam said, we'll have a meat cutting demonstration. We'll talk about cut by cook combinations, all of that stuff. And be rest assured, we will not be death by PowerPoint today. We're not the least bit interested in that. So we've just got a couple of slides here to get us underway, Sam, haven't we? And then
let's go, Kelly.
Absolutely. And then there's a Q&A at the end, and Sam's going to help me out here as well as we go. So Sam, if you could just go to the first slide for me. And you'll just have to click these through. So if you just click them through, Sam, and so and that will do. Lovely, thank you. So if we can just start from the beginning, everyone, and we actually discussed this today, that how did MSA come about? Well, this is how it came about. And some of you may have seen this. It's quite old information now from 1990, but there's some key points in here. 38% of people had difficulty buying beef, quality beef that they desire. The really important one in here is the second one, which is 57% of people had difficulty predicting tender beef, raw beef product when they were buying it. So the levy payer, the producer who was getting this feedback information from survey results, were really concerned that every second time someone purchased the same product, it failed in their expectation. Really bad information. 81% believed that price was a poor indicator, and then more than 90%, this is quite interesting because it's now 21 years old, but more than 90% of people perceived that fat was poor quality. All marveling, if you like, but I think we're more educated around that. But the light at the end of the tunnel, ladies and gentlemen, on the bottom is that people said that they would pay more for meat, they would buy more and pay more if they were satisfied. And I think that's exactly where we've gone in industry today. Thanks, Sam. So what is Meat Standards Australia? So it's an eating quality program for beef and sheep meat. It says lamb in there, but it is sheep meat. It's much broader. It predicts eating quality through consumer sensory, which we will talk about in a second. It's commercialized what has become a very complex business around meat, and we'll talk about that in a second as well, into a cuts-based grading system. And then the last little one there, and we haven't got time to talk about it today, but what we like to talk about is that Meat Standards Australia is actually recognised by the United States Department of Agriculture. So we can actually license export abattoirs in Australia to send USDA processed verified product to the US. In addition to that, and what we really like about this, Sam and everyone, is that they become a third-party auditor for our program. So if you didn't know, the United States Department of Agriculture come and audit our program every year. So I think that's good rigor in what we do here. Thanks, Sam.
Just before we go on to the next slide, food service chefs and procurement managers and professionals on the call tonight, we're seeing that beef is probably at its highest price ever. And we need to make sure that when we're cooking it and preparing it and putting it into our business, that we have the right cut for cook method. And we also want guaranteed tenderness, because it's an expensive product and you've got to be able to know how to treat it properly so you can get the best return, not only for your business, but for the customer. So it's very important, Meat Standards Australia. And ideally, it's to make sure that you have success of Australian beef or lamb on menu with a graded product time and time again. On to the next slide.
Yeah, that's what an excellent segue, Sam. So in order to get the correct cut by cook combinations, we've had 170,000 consumers. So this is all very current across 1.1 million samples of beef. There's an additional 100,000 samples of sheepmeat that we've done in building the new sheep model. Sadly, we can't do that today, but perhaps that's another one that we can do in the near future, Karen. 12 cook methods. We're going to talk about those in some detail in a second as well. There are 4 new ones. So you'll get to see the 4 new cook methods that consumers have tested quite recently, and across 11 countries. So the researchers wanted to know if Australian consumers align with global consumers, and they do, funnily enough. It's quite amazing if you can get hold of those research papers. And it's the largest product testing program of anyone in the world. Thanks, Sam.
So I think we had someone just join the call now. If you could make sure that everyone's muted, that'd be greatly appreciated.
Thank you. So how do we do it? This is exactly how it's done. Yours truly on the left there. This was an actual scientific sensory test that was done in Melbourne some years ago, and I was fortunate enough to participate in it. So we ask consumers to judge on, and this is very important, ladies and gentlemen, if we can really hone in on this, because this gives the rest of our sessions, doesn't it, Sammy? This introduces what we're going to do next. So consumers are asked to judge on tenderness, juiciness, flavour, and overall liking. And that's the score sheet. You can see it in front of me there. We simply have to eat the product. So if it was grilling meat, it would be a little 20 by 20 cube. It's unrecognisable. It's fully denuded. You could be having grill, roast, stir fry, thin slice, whatever. You could be having all kinds of stuff, corned meat. But the day that I did it was a grill test. So you simply put a stroke on the line between not tender, very tender, not juicy, very juicy, and so on. If you wanted to make a mental note or write a note down, the percentages that go against these eating quality tests are as follows. So the tenderness is multiplied by 30%, the juiciness score by 10, the flavour score, I beg your pardon, is 30%, and the overall liking is 30%. So 30, 10, 30, 30. We then ask consumers to tick one of those boxes at the bottom. Just tell us whether they think it's a fail, a good every day, better than every day, or a gourmet product. So when we multiply out those scores and we add them together, big drum roll, Sammy.
Over to you.
Just the next slide. Thank you.
Yeah.
There we go. Thank you. There it is. Okay. Boom, boom. There we are. So that's how MSA works. And that's how it's done in a snapshot. So the outcome of that, Sam, is how many eating quality categories do we have?
Well, we've got 3.
4.
Correct. 4.
Okay.
Fail.
Oh, yeah, correct.
Passes. Yeah.
Yeah, don't forget the first one. What's the first one?
Fail.
Yeah, you bet it is. How important is that? So consumers gave us a fail category. So any meat that doesn't achieve 46 points out of 100, I don't know if is that a quiz question, I can't remember. If it achieves 46 points out of 100, that's the beginning of MSA. Then we have the three eating quality categories, or the successful eating quality categories of 3-star up to 64, 4-star after 64, and then 5-star after 77. And Sam, you and I talked about this morning, didn't we? That it is, so the star rating gives us what, Sam?
The star rating, look, so, if you're looking at a 4-star, you're probably looking at something like a Scotch fillet or a sirloin steak. Yeah. For a 5-star, you'd probably be looking at tenderloin, which is guaranteed tenderness. And then MSA 46 to 64, you're looking at your non-prime cuts like rump, blade, chuck, outside flat, topside, etc. Correct, Kelly?
Yeah, so absolutely. So we don't get confused, ladies and gentlemen, all cuts will fit into those categories by cook method. So you would have grilling cuts, as Sam just said. You could have chuck as a 4-star as a casserole. You could have brisket as a 4-star slow cook in a combi oven, and so on. So everything fits in there, and we'll make some more sense of that as we go to the next slide. So if you can remember the 0 to 100 and those breaks in that line, that'll be a great way to remember where we're going as we progress through this session. So for the first time, you've probably never seen these cook methods, but there's an additional 4 now. So the 8 on the left, if you like, are the originals. So grill, roast, stir fry, yakiniku, shabu shabu, thin slice, corning, stir fry, and then on the right hand side we have the 4 new ones, Sam, which we're really excited about. They are, and I'll let Sam jump in a second, which is roast combi oven.
And this is why I thought it was so important, Kelly, to have this session here tonight with our friends at the Australian Culinary Federation and all the culinary experts on board, is because these new 4 cook methods have been developed for commercial cookery, right? So in the past, everyone can grill, roast, stir fry, shabu shabu, yakiniku, which are thin slices used in hot pot in Asia type of cooking. Corn, we've seen corn silverside, and casserole and braising. They're all cooking methods that are done in commercial cookery, but also very relevant for consumers around the world. However, the last 4 were being developed for us commercial cookery professionals, and that's eating quality guide based on cook methods for combi. So that's combi steaming, set to 80 degrees, roast fin, roast slice cold for sandwiches, salads, etc., and sous vide, which is very important too. So we've developed the model for food service as well. You know, it always has been for food service as well, but we've put more of a concentration on methods of cookery that apply to commercial kitchens, I guess is the best way to describe it.
Yeah, absolutely, Sam. And we've got a lovely example we're going to talk about when we do the cutting demonstration, aren't we? About some work that we have done with rum, which is terribly successful. Thanks, Sam.
No problems.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like, we have a fantastic document. This one here, which is the Australian Beef Eating Quality Insights, and it's about to be published for the last 2 years. And what I've done is just taken a couple of pages out of this fantastic book. If you go to mla.com.au, this will be published soon. So you're actually getting to see some content before it's published. But just to give you some idea around MSA and how it's performing over the last 2 years, Sam. And if we can just look across the top there, ladies and gentlemen, you can see that there are almost 40,000 registered producers that are supplying into the MSA program. There are 7.1, we're very proud of this, 7.1 million animals that were graded across the MSA program over the last 2 years. There are 38 licensed processors that are processing beef in Australia for MSA. And a number that you may not see, but Meat and Livestock Australia is an RDC, is Research Development Corporation, I guess chartered with making sure that the programs that we run have a benefit to the people who are paying us, and they are the levy payer. And you can see there, over the last 2 years, there's been a return to farm gate of $329 million back to producers through premiums through the MSA product, which is just incredible. The next one is an index score, which we're going to skip over because we haven't got time to talk about that today. But the next number is an absolute beauty, and that is that we've actually graded, Sam, 53% of the adult population MSA across Australia. So quite an incredible feat. And then you can just see the 2 graphs down the bottom, and also the proportion of MSA grading in the donut on the bottom right hand corner. You see that the majority or the big numbers of cattle come out of Queensland, quite ironically, of course, because we have most of the cattle here. We have 12 out of the 28 million cattle here in Queensland. The next slide is quite interesting, Sam, isn't it?
So, Kelly, just before we go to that, I think there's a key note to take from that slide for the commercial food service professionals on tonight. there's a really good chance that you're probably getting graded meat right into your establishment. So how do you capitalize on that as a business? So 53% of carcasses are graded MSA. There's a real good chance you're probably getting the meat already into your kitchens that's graded. So learning how the program operates and how you can capitalize on it will only make you better at your job.
Excellent, Sam. And we're going to help everyone, aren't we, Sam? Because we've actually got some carton end panels coming up so that people can identify MSA graded product.
Spot on.
So again, this is just a lovely little snapshot. If you can see on the right-hand side, all the little circles. Now the gold in those circles represents grain-fed. So we're going to talk about grain-fed and grass-fed. And there are some urban myths around this, aren't there, Sam? So let's tidy up those. So you can see for yourselves there that New South Wales has exactly 50-50 of grass-fed versus grain-fed animals that are coming into the MSA program. Queensland has a massive 78% of animals that are presented for MSA that are grain-fed. And so you can see there's a pattern here that it's very climate-based, isn't it? Queensland is hot, it's arid, it doesn't rain here a lot, so we rely on grain finishing animals, whereas somewhere like Tasmania is completely green. So all of the animals coming out of Tasmania are grass-fed. The circle on the left, the big circle on the left, gives us the national herd. So 60% of all animals presented for MSA are grain-fed. That's nationwide. So 40% of animals are grass-fed that are presented to the MSA program nationally. And there's some other little detail in there that you can look at. The one, and I don't want to get down into too much detail, but the graph on the bottom, if you can just bear with me for a second, the yellow line represents grain-fed, and the green line represents the bumpy line represents, yeah, thanks, Sammy, represents grass-fed. And what this represents is compliance to MSA program. So you'll see that grain-fed cattle are much more compliant and hardly any animals fail when they're presented for MSA grading. Whereas you can see the green line, we have lots of lumps and bumps in there. So grass feeding is not quite as forgiving for animals that are presented for MSA grading. So they're the ones that don't meet the compliance for the program, Sammy.
Okay.
Oh, here we go. So here's the monster. Here's the elephant in the room. This is what we've got to deal with. So we can put some, we'll put some accuracy around this, but that's the big carcass. So the consumer has helped us not only come up with an eating quality outcome for a whole cut or a primal, if you like, but they've given us eating quality outcomes for the subprimal muscles for each one as well. And we're going to deal with the rump today, but there are many, many others. There is something like 100 muscles on each side of a beef carcass, and we have eating quality outcomes for most of those. We're very pleased to say that the eating quality program in the old model was around 169 cut by cook combinations. The brand new model that we're going to show you today, which is very new, has a current total of 275 cut by cook combinations across a beef carcass. So we think we've got you covered, Sammy.
So chefs, like I said, you'll all get a copy of this book if you leave your address. I'm waving at the wrong computer. And details to the ACF. And you'll get, part of that book has also got a cuts chart on it. Now, these numbers here that we're referring to are what they're called ham numbers. So it's not ham as in pork. It's ham as in Handbook of Australian Meat numbers. So the beautiful thing about being a food service professional and having all these numbers is that when you're talking to your wholesaler, you can tell them what cut you want by hand number, and then they'll look it up in their handbook, and then they know exactly what you're talking about when you're ordering for your menu. And that can be quite confusing when you're ordering through the internet or ordering over the phone. If you've got this guide in your kitchen with these ham numbers, they're a good reference to order specific meat for your menu. Now, I utilize this sheet right here to order meat all around the country. So wherever Julie, Kelly, and I go, I order meat through wholesalers nationally across Australia and the world, utilizing these hand numbers, and I get it right 99%. So it just gives you, as a chef, the confidence to order the right product for your kitchen.
Absolutely. Thanks, Sammy. And so from now on, in fact, that's a nice little segue. So Sam and I will be referring to all cuts, subprimals, etc., out of the Handbook of Australian Meat. So all the cut names that we will use, if they sound a bit funny, but we'll be using them by their correct name because they only have one correct name, but they have a lot of common names, don't they? A lot that are used throughout supermarket and retail and so on. So
just hold that book up, Kelly. One of you will get that today, valued at $100. So stand by. Yep.
Yeah, excellent.
Let's go.
Okay.
Yep.
So as promised, we've got a couple of carton end panels here. And what's fantastic about the eating quality program and identifying the cuts and eating quality on the carton is it does exactly what it says on the left there, Sammy. What eating quality level do you want? What cook method do you intend to use? And how long do you intend to age it for? So that's exactly what the carton end panel does. And so while you've got your little cursor there, Sammy, but what we also wanted to raise with you is that on the top of the label there, it's got a YGCUR, which stands for YG, which is a cipher or yearling, and it's a cube roll. So in the Handbook of Australian Meat, if I can just show that to you, we have all of the ciphers in here, which is a CIPHER. If Kelly can hurry up and find it, must be up the front here. And so there is also an alternative cipher nowadays, but they are the ciphers and it's in this book. I don't know if you can see that, you probably can't because the PowerPoint's there, but there are a number of ciphers that are still used in the market, and they will recognise animals by dentition or by how many teeth they have. We're not going to go into a great story about that. But if that said Y, then they would have 0 teeth, they would have their baby teeth only. A YG animal can have no more than 2 permanent incisors or 2 teeth, and so on. So, but very importantly, Sammy, if you can wave your side for your little cursor at the eating quality panel, and we can see there that as a grill, those cube rolls are a 3-star grill at 5 days, and they're an MSA 4-star at 14 days. So every carton of MSA product will have an eating quality outcome written on the carton. If we go to
Kelly, that's from the pack date, 5 days from the pack date.
Oh, well done, Sam. Top of the class, correct.
So yeah, so chef, you'll see these panels on the end of whole boxes that you order into your business, right? So you look at the pack date and you know that from 5 days from when that meat was packed, you're going to get a 3-star grill for MSA 4, which is even more tender, at 14 days from the 17th of April. So something handy just to know, you know, because you see those boxes come in, and wouldn't it be good to know, you know, how to read those panels and just be more knowledgeable as a chef, especially executive chefs that are ordering meat by, you know, the tons into their business, you know. Yep.
Yeah, and that's excellent, Sam. And I don't want to drag this out, but actually, I've had a phone call. This is commercial. It was actually within the major catering within the mining industry. I had a call from a guy yesterday, and we were talking exactly about this, where someone was making a claim that they were sending him MSA product, and so on. So this is an excellent way to control what you're doing and what you're purchasing. That's a great summary, Sam. So just so you're not alarmed, ladies and gentlemen, this is a brand new cipher. If you can point your cursor at this one, Sammy. So this brand new cipher here, EQG, which stands for Eating Quality Graded. So
can I just ring a bell there, Kelly?
Sorry?
That's one of the questions.
It is a question. There we go. We'll write that down. It could be
give them a bit of a hint. Yeah, EQG. Continue.
Okay. Sorry. So eating quality. So EQG stands for Eating Quality Graded. And short line. Can you tell me what the short line is, Sammy?
Short line on the bone, sirloin.
Yeah, T-bone.
T-bone.
Yeah, correct. So this is a carton of EQG short line. And again, we haven't got a lot of time to talk about this, but one of the issues within the industry, and it was identified through Meat Standards Australia, that a lot of animals that have different numbers of teeth have the same eating quality, Sam. But industry wouldn't allow us to pack different animals into the same box if they had the same eating quality. And that's, I guess, quite general and a bit loose. So it was then put to industry that we come up with a brand new cipher so that we can put 2, 4, 6-teeth animals into the same box. That's what EQG allows us to do. So that those animals can be of any dentition, but they must meet, Sam, if you can show us the eating quality panel. So they must meet that eating quality outcome on the eating quality panel on that carton.
Yeah.
Easy as that. Just like that. So we have some boxes will have a cipher and some boxes will have EQG on them. Oh, okay. So a little snapshot of what the model would look like. And I guess this raises the conversation about how packers pack, your expectations, our expectations, their expectations, and different brand models that processors might use. So if I can, Sam, I was going to actually bring my gear down, wasn't I? I'm sorry, but it's in the book. We've got a 200 marble. So these two animals are identical, except what we've done is we've changed the marbling on the top animal is a 200 marble score and the animal on the bottom is a 500 marble score. And if we zoom over to the strip loin, Sam, as a steak on the top one, so yeah, if we zoom across to the eating quality panel, the green, if you go to strip loin, go to steak, and then point to the number. Yep, what's the number of strip loin as a steak in that square?
66.
No, that's oyster blade, the one above it.
Sorry. Oh, sorry, 54.
54, okay. So if we give that animal a 500 marble score, identical animal, so go down to the animal at the bottom and look at steak, strip loin. Oh, it now becomes what, Sam?
64.
Which is?
MSA 4.
4-star. Excellent. So ladies and gentlemen, we just wanted to show you this. So if these animals were side by side in an abattoir, and they most certainly can be, the one animal has the strip loin eating quality outcome 10% better than the other. More importantly, it tells us that one's got a 4-star strip loin and the other one's got a 3-star strip loin. So I want you to ponder this for a minute. If you had your MSA hat on or your abattoir hat on, would you pack those animals into the same box or a different box, Sam?
You pack them into a different box because one's got more better eating quality than the other.
Excellent, and that's a lovely little segue into brands and how brands work. So the processors have a number of brands. I think in the previous slide it said that we're nearly 200 individual different MSA brands in Australia now. So they can segregate, or the MSA program allows them to segregate animals into different brands and different eating quality. How cool is that? Okay, the next one, Sammy. So we may come back to this, but this is a snapshot of the model and looking at the rump that we're going to cut up in a second. And so we look at, you've got rump cap, it's 4-star. The animal that I've put in here is actually just above average, above the national average. And we've got tri-tip, who's got 4-star as a grill. And then we've got the rump center is 56. And then we've got the eye of the rump is 59, or the eye rump side. And then just compared to the strip loin, which is underneath, which is 65 points, is also 4-star. So it's telling us that tri-tip and rump cap are eating the same as strip loin. Wow, how about that? And then it looks at all of the different cook methods across the top, Sammy. How cool is that?
Yeah, yeah. So the great thing about this, Chef, the higher the number, the more tender the cut is.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. So try and remember that, everyone. Okay, so we're up to cutting, Sam. So do you want me to get the meat?
Yeah, let's get the meat. So Deb, can you
please talk through that.
Kelly now?
Yeah, you talk through that. You talk through the next couple of slides, Sam.
Okay, no worries. So team, the hand number for rump is 2090, right? So rump is from the hind quarter. It's removed from the straight cut, commencing from the subliac lymph node. Well, let me not get into the science of it. Look, I'll put it in chef's terms because that's what we are, right? So you can see the whole rump there. So we've got the tri-tip, right, which is there, which is not commonly harvested. So when you ask for a rump from your wholesaler, 9 times out of 10, you'll get the rump cap, and then you'll get the Ross biff at the end, and then you'll get the rump flap underneath that, which is what we call as chefs the pillow steak. So the rump that Kelly's got tonight, he's actually got the tri-tip at the end because we know that's increasingly becoming more fluent on menus. So we went to the extra effort to get a cut with the tri-tip just to get you a look at it tonight. But that's the breakdown of the rump. And as you can see in the previous slide, they've all got different eating qualities. So, for example, the tri-tip eats really well, right? And then the B-rump rough biff, which is under the cap, which is a and the rump cap, which is 67. So somebody mute out, please. Rajan. Rajan, could you please mute out? Can we mute him, Deb? Yep, there we go. All right. Yep. So what effectively? Why am I bringing this up? Rajan, can we mute this guy?
Can you mute him, please?
Yeah.
Is the sugar. Any vegetable is sugar.
So,
sorry, Sam.
So effectively, what I'm saying is that the higher the number, he's throwing me. The rump cap has a good eating, same quality as a strip loin. So, you know, hence why I refer back to this slide. Can we boot this guy?
I'm trying.
Yeah.
I'm
right.
trying.
All right, no worries, Deb. So, Kelly, let's go to the demonstration, my friend.
Excellent. Thanks, Karen.
And we can pin him, Deb. I'll stop the slide.
Can we go into? I'll go
There
into.
you go. Let's go, Kel.
Yeah.
You're pinned in, Kel. We can all see you.
Oh, actually, sorry. Okay, I didn't know what I was looking at. Okay, we're down to business. Sorry for me looking at you. It's hard for me not to look at you and look at the camera. So if everyone's okay with that, I like to look at the audience. We're in for a treat today, Sam, and everyone. I've found not only a rump, but it's almost something unrecognisable that we don't see nowadays. We've got a big, giant tri-tip over here, Sam. Very excited about that. So we're going to talk about that. We had a look at that in the model a moment ago. The other thing that's really exciting about this rump, Sam, it's actually out of a tender strip.
I'm trying.
Sorry, Kel. Can we text this guy or something through?
I'm just going to shut it all off. Okay, hang on.
Sorry, I don't. Rajan, I don't have the hosting to.
No, I'm just doing it now. Hang on. I've just frozen everything.
Kelly, we just got someone talking over him. It's removed. Okay. Look, we'll continue the presentation. You gotta love technology. All right.
Oh, you do, Sam, don't you?
Let's go, Kelly. Do your best, son.
Okay, all right. I'll keep going. I'll keep screaming at the camera. Okay, so what we've got is in fact, they're beautifully almost segregated here. I haven't touched this. So we've got the rump cap here. So the rump actually sits, so this goes down the leg, if you like. So that becomes the silver side. That is the gluteobiceps muscle, that one. And it goes down like that. And then this one actually comes along and jumps into the strip loin at this end. And you may have even seen the best end T-bone. In fact, I think I've got one in the freezer. But your best end of the T-bone has a little bit of the gluteus medius in it. So that's where the strip loin comes from, and this is where the outside flat or the silver side comes from. What we
Kelly,
have
we've lost your picture, mate.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, but we can't see you.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
No, my video is still on. I can see myself.
Yeah. Yeah, we got you back.
Oh,
We're
you're back. Okay.
We're back. Yeah,
Groovy.
Yeah.
I'll keep belting along. So what we've got here is the big gluteus medius muscle. And when they did this to consumer sensory, we actually separated these two muscles out, which becomes an eye rump center and an eye rump side. On the bottom here, this stripy one that you can see along the bottom here is the gluteus profundus muscle. Excuse me for calling them their correct name, but that's what we're going to call them. And then there's a little secret one over here, which is the pillow stake or the gluteus accessoris muscle. So I'm going to get to work. So as we pull this out, if you try this at home, in fact, this is a beautiful representation of how the rump comes together. And let's do that if you don't mind. So the rump cap eats beautifully. The eye rump side eats better than the eye rump center. So this end of the rump eats great. Eats really, really good. And then this end of the rump eats slightly lower in eating quality than this end. And we'll look at those differences in a moment. But according to the model, this tri-tip eats fantastically. And it's really something that, Sam, you and I have earmarked to do some future work with, haven't we?
Correct. Now, just while everyone else is listening tonight, part of this presentation is we're giving away the main prize. So listen carefully to all of what Kelly has to say when he's taking apart this primal.
Okay, so what we're doing here is just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to roll out the gluteus medius. Oh, sorry, I'm going to take the undercut muscles off first. I beg your pardon. So here's the, if you're looking for the eye rump, if you're looking for the pillow stake, if you draw a line, so a diagonal line from the tip of the rump cap, if you draw a line diagonally across, it's up in here. That's where it is. So sorry, I got a bit carried away. I'm going to turn it around. So if you stick your finger all the way down there, there's a lovely seam that runs all the way down here. And we can just pull this out. The really sad thing about consumer sensory is that we need to have a big enough piece of meat to get 10 steak samples or 10, 20 mils samples out of the steak or the piece of meat. So unfortunately, the pillow steak is not that big. And so we couldn't get 10 pieces of steak. So it doesn't get a grill, which is most unfortunate. And anyway, there it goes. And we're just taking off the profundus and the accessories together. I'll turn that back around. And if I just quickly separate this out. And so there's generally, ladies and gentlemen, if you've done this at home, some of you might, but there's generally silver skin between all subprimal cuts. And so what we're going to do is we do a lot of this shaving so that you don't cut into the meat, so you don't lose anything. So it's really important that we just keep shaving. So there's the gluteus profundus muscle that goes on the bottom. A lot of people in retail now, and you'll find a lot of supermarkets will actually remove these two muscles. I'll just put that one there, so that the consumer doesn't bump into bits of sinew and so on. We're just going to take the silver skin off the top of the pillow steak. In the interest of time, we'll get that off, Sammy, and then we will take the bottom off. And this is the periosteum. This is the bone tissue. So we can see there's a bit of bone tissue here, which comes off the H bone. We should have a question for that. My good friend Peter Howard, he'd know how to spell that. That is AITCH, not H as the letter H. So it's the H bone, the AITCH. We have one of those. It's not called that, but we do have one. It's the hip bone. And this is where this sits. And this is this beautiful pillow steak. We love it. And what happens when you cook it, Sammy? What does it do?
Oh, it puffs up. Kill.
It puffs up like you wouldn't believe, doesn't it?
Yeah, it puffs up like a tontine pillow, mate.
It does. It's beautiful. It is a beautiful piece of, and it has a similar eating quality to what, Sam, would you think?
I'd say to a sirloin, mate.
Or better than that, nearly a tenderloin almost.
Tenderloin. So it's a little secret chef steak or butcher steak. Go well on a steak sandwich, Kelly.
Yeah. So it's beautiful. So it's about somewhere between 170 and 250 grams. So it's not to be sneezed at if you're going to do any of this work. In fact, one of our major processes was actually harvesting these out of rumps, because when they in the abattoir, and I'll just grab this bit here. Sorry if you can just give me some time, a second. So the profundus actually goes like that. And so what they do in an abattoir is they actually rip all that out, and it goes where?
Trim.
Straight. Well done, Sammy. Straight into trim. That makes me very sad. So there you are. There's the pillow steak. So back to where we were. So we'll take out the eye rump center. And again, if you're trying this at home, please don't take the cap off first, because you'll lose your way. So take the rump center out first of all after you've done that. And you can see here that it gets really tricky at the strip loin end, and it comes around here and it sticks like glue to the rest of the rump. And if we're clever enough, ladies and gentlemen, we should be able to hopefully roll this out, and we'll leave the tri-tip in here as well. And it'll be a nice little pocket where it all came out.
So everyone, it's 6:24 now, or 5:24 Queensland time. We may run 10 minutes over, but please excuse us. We'll go as quick as we can.
Yeah, well, this won't take long. We're going beautifully here. So we've got that off. Look at that. And we did a lot of that by hand. So what we've got is nicely out on the table. They're all still there, nice and neat. We've got the rump cap, the tri-tip, and we just took out the rump center. Look at that. And it just sat in there just like that. Easy peasy. And so if we have a look on top, Sammy, it's one of our favorite party tricks. So the eye rump center and the eye rump side are very visible. Can you see that big line through there? You see that, Sammy? Yeah, very visible.
Correct.
Oh,
Correct.
yeah, sorry. Yep. Just getting some confirmation. So this is the eye rump side and the eye rump center. But you don't do it from this side, which is the lateral side. We do it from underneath, so from the medial side. So we'll
what
do
we're
that in a
doing
second.
is we were taking, now Kelly's going to break that Ross bip off after he continue working, Kel. So as he's denuding that rump cap that he's got on the bench there, he's going to take the eye side and the eye center out of the Ross biff. And what we were doing, Kelly, is we were putting that whole Ross biff in a combi oven and just cooking it ever so slowly at about 65 degrees to an internal of 56, guys. So 65 degrees in the combi oven, dry heat, and put your probe in and take it to 56. And what we were finding there is that it makes a wonderful reverse seared steak that you can do for your customers a la minute, or you could cut across the grain nice and thin and put it into a Thai beef salad or a beef salad or any type. And we've done that with big customers and had great success with it. So Ross biff underneath the cap, into the combi oven at about 60 degrees, take it to an internal of 56, and then you can hit it hard on the grill just prior to service, or slice it thinly across the grain and use it as a salad. Back to you, Kel.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks, Sammy. So I've just done that while we've been talking. So in the rump cap, just in that corner, the really tight little corner, this is actually the front edge of, that's where it's sat on the rump. I'll put it all back together again in a minute. But in one corner, we've got some silver skin that we need to get rid of because that's going to bother us. So we'll come back to that.
So well, that cut that Kelly just put down, that triangle cut, team, the rump cap, us chefs also like to call it the picanha. So if you cut it across the grain into thick steaks, you can put that onto skewers and then over the fire and have a wonderful Brazilian steak. Serve it with some salsa roja or some chimichurri, and it just eats amazing. The MSA eating quality guide tells us that eats as good as strip loin at MSA 4-star. So
absolutely. Yeah,
it's just a great cut.
And the funny thing, ladies and gentlemen, you know, I'm so pleased that consumers don't pick the differences between the cuts and the rump. Thank goodness, right? Because this is 8% better in eating quality than the rump center, and they don't pick it up. And thank goodness they don't. However, in food service, if you want to do something different, then it is 8% better, and you should be able to value add that. Okay, so for our last thing here, we're just going to quickly take off a little bit of this periosteum again. And then we're going to take the eye rump side out of the eye rump center. So remember, not from this side, but underneath, we identify that this is the smaller side So it's over
Hold
here.
that rump up again so people can see the seam in between both cuts.
Yeah.
So see that fat seam, team? I'll put the cursor over it. I don't think you can see my cursor, but you'll see a bit of fat in the middle. So what Kelly's going to do is denude that and have the rump eye side and the rump center. Go for it, KP, from the bottom of the rump.
Yeah. And as every good chef would know, and my good friend Peter Howard there again, he would know that the first cut of the rump has got this big bit of gristle in the front of it. And that's what you've got to, we're going to remove that. You don't want to give that to anyone in the restaurant. So here it is, the big bit of gristle. So we're going to just slice away here on the eye rump side of the big bit of gristle and expose it. Well, there it is. And so we just keep exposing. So that we don't waste any of that beautiful eye rump side muscle. And we follow it all the way through and it goes all the way to the end. There it is.
And chef, the beautiful thing is if you can learn how to do this, you can bring great value to an ordinary rump rather than cutting it full face. If you know how to do this, right, and it's not that hard, even an old chef like me can do it, you can add all of a sudden a whole variety of new steaks to your restaurant, which is the rump cap, the eye side, the eye center, and the pillow, all to your menu.
Absolutely. So we'll just take out that piece of silver skin. And what Sam and I've done, so Sam talked about his reverse seared rump. We've just taken that big bit of gristle out. There it is. That's the big bit of gristle that sits right up the middle of the rump. This end is quite thin and like tissue paper, but this end is very thick and gnarly, and that's why you don't want to give that one to the consumer. But what we have done, as Sam was saying earlier, with the reverse seared rump, we've got one eye rump side. So we made 3 of them. We turned this one into 2 eye rump sides as well. So we had all of these little portion steaks, which I'll make for you in a second. Okay. So
Paul Schroeder, who used to be my old TAFE teacher, believe it or not, Kelly. So I've got to be good. My old TAFE teacher's online tonight. Said even an old chef like him can do it. So
there you go. That's fabulous. Yeah,
wonderful to have you on board tonight, chef.
Correct. And I'm sure it's not the first time that people have seen this done. But the reason we like doing it, Sam, is because it has the best references to the eating quality model and consumer sensory out of all the cuts, except for a clod. We could do a clod next time. Okay, so I'll cut some steaks out of that in a moment. What I am going to do is put it back together. So we've got the eye rump side and we've got the eye rump center. So we need to put those 2 back together again. So they go like that. Now, where it gets really tricky is where does the rump cap go? So that's actually the face of it there. And we can see, and Sam talked about it earlier, I know we're running out of time very quickly, but you've got to be very careful when you cut a rump steak because the grains of the rump cap actually run in the wrong direction. They actually run along the face of the rump. So you can get into all sorts of strife. So we'll turn that over. Now, the trick is, where did the rump cap come from? And I can tell you, if you remember from way back in the beginning, anyone can help me out, the rump cap comes from the eye rump side end. That's where it comes from. So it goes there. And then there's this big bit of fat that I took off. It goes in there. And then we've got the tri-tip. It went there. Like that. And we turn it all over.
Like a surgeon, Kelly.
Oops, actually like that, like that, like that, like that, like that, like that. There's a tri-tip. And then we have the pillow steak went in there. And then the profundus, which is still underneath my pile, is in there. So there we are. So it's all back together again. That's how the rump goes. So I'll make some little steaks. So it's the pillow steak.
So while you're doing that, Kelly, there's a big barbecue at Kelly's house on Saturday for everyone.
I was just thinking, how would I slip over the border for that?
Yeah. So look, while you're saying that, I might ask a question. So if someone wants to come in and answer one of the questions for the main prize, which is the $100 book that we're giving away tonight, the Handbook of Australian Meats. Name 2 subprimal cuts from that breakdown that Kelly just did. Anyone can unmute and ask the question. First one in.
The rump cap and the rump center.
Thank you very much. Who was that?
Kelly.
Kelly Fraser, who I was speaking to last night, you are the winner of the Handbook of Australian Meats book. And we will get that out to you if you can leave your details with the ACF, and they will get in contact with us, and we'll get that book out to you. Well done. And I'll
Thank you
even
very much.
MSA Chef's Apron for you as well. Right, so next question. What is the ham number of the rump? When I brought it up while Kelly went and got the rump out of the fridge.
2090.
Whoa.
Sorry?
2090.
Yeah, correct.
Belinda! Yourself.
It's Girl Power
Deb,
tonight.
are we getting
Hey.
these names down, Deb? We're getting these names down, Deb. Belinda has just
Thanks.
won a Chef's Apron, a Meat Standards Australia Chef's Apron. The
Ah,
next one.
fabulous.
Why was MSA developed? Come on, guys. There's 50 of you online. Why was MSA developed?
Eating quality.
Yeah, who was that?
Right.
Brett, my man from Queensland. I think you've got an MSA apron, but we'll give you another one, champion. So,
Oh, how are you, Brett?
details.
Hey, good guys.
That's good, Brett. Good
Brett
to hear from you.
Good man. Good man. And the last one is name 2 of the new cook methods that we went through earlier in the presentation. So remember we were talking about all those different cook methods, and I said these ones were developed for commercial cookery.
So you better get out. Otherwise, will it be too late?
Roast thin, slice cold, and sous vide dice.
Oh,
You
well
have
done.
one. Fantastic. If you, and your name?
Emma.
Emma. Emma.
From Ride.
Emma that used to work for me at Spotless.
Sure is.
Emma, Chef Emma. All right, we'll get you a prize out too. So
Awesome, thank
your
you.
faces out there. We'll give you a chef apron as well. So congratulations to those people who won tonight. Kelly will flash back to you of those steaks, and then we'll quickly end the presentation with the video of the cooking, and that's it, which goes for 2 minutes.
Yeah, okay. So, look, I'll just, so I'll say my farewells now, Sam, or not?
Yeah, do that, champion.
Yeah, okay. So thank you very much, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed the session. I hope we've given you another little update on the MSA program and where we're at and how many animals have been graded, how to identify your cut and end panels, how to identify eating quality, all of the new cut by cook combinations through the new cook methods. MSA 3, 4, and 5 star. It's always good to remind ourselves how all that works. Thank you, Karen. If you get a rump at home, go nuts. We'll get the book to you so you can follow how to do it. And thank you, Sammy. And I think that'll wind me up for today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Round of applause to Kelly Payne. Thank you very much, Kelly. Excellent work under a bit of pressure there halfway through the presentation, but we got there, champion. Karen, do you have any final words before we go out to the last video?
No, I just wanted to say thank you to MLA and to yourself and Kelly. It was fantastic, and I look forward to the next one we do together.
Fantastic. Well, the last thing I'm going to say is, everyone, if they please provide their details to the ACF, you can private message them through Facebook or through the website. We will get you one of these books, which has got the hand numbers. It's a ripper. It's got all the eating quality. It's got the cut by cook combinations. Everyone gets one of these, right? So if we could put your details through to the ACF, that'd be fantastic.
Sam, there's a question actually. I don't know who it is, but I can see a hand up from the Zoom user.
Yeah, go for it. If you can
I can
work that
unmute.
out to me, Karen, because I've got one screen on the video about to start.
No, it's not here. I'll come back to it. I'm trying to unmute.
Yeah, if anyone's got any questions, feel free to reach out to me at through my Facebook page or MLA in the domestic marketing section. My contacts are there. Now, just before we cut to the final video, I'd like everyone to register for our next webinar on the 26th of October. We would be doing Rare Medium Academy, which was filmed at TAFE, New South Wales, where Karen is, on roasts and carvery. So Kelly will be doing a bit of a demonstration there. So go to Rare Medium Academy on all socials and sign up for our next webinar on the 26th of October. So we'll leave you now with the presentation of the rump cap, which Kelly did later. Thank you very much for your time, and apologies about going over.
Thank you, Sam.
Hi, my name is Sam Burke, Corporate Chef for Meat and Livestock Australia. I'm here to show you creative ways how to cook Australian red meat over fire. Why? Because I find it liberating. It provides flavour, romance and theatre. Today's dish, rump picanha over the charcoal. The rump cap, top of the D rump, otherwise known as the picanha, a prize cut in Brazil, Portugal and Spain. Picanha derives from the pole where they used to hit the cattle way back in the old days. That's where the name comes from. Today we're going to slice this into 3 portions, put some rock salt on top of it, and then char grill it on the spit till medium rare. We're going to serve this today with a traditional chimichurri and some fire roasted capsicums. Now it's time to portion our steak for the grill. So the rump caps are shaped like a triangle. We're going to nip the top off like this, and then we're going to do 3 big slices. Now we're going to turn them around, ready for skewing. So I'm going to spear with my boning knife just a little bit of a puncture through the fat, and then on the other side with the meat. Why? Because I've got a blunt end here, and it's going to make it very difficult to skewer it if I don't have a little bit of a head start by doing it this way. So we pop it in there, and then it pops out like that. And I'll just repeat the process. Let's season the rump cap. Rock salt straight over the top, onto the skin. We want to be liberal with this because we want to get a good seasoning when the meat's going over the spit. Now, time for grilling that. To accompany, we've got some baby capsicums. This will be sweet and vibrant with our steak on the char grill. And finally, some chimichurri, the perfect condiment for a dish like this with grilled steak over open flames. Off to the grill. You know, the wonderful thing about Australian beef, you don't have to do much to it. Here we are, cut, salt, peppers underneath. That's all you need. You don't have to mess with a quality product. The producers have done all the work. We need to pay it respect. There's no need to go glazing sauce on this. The steak is the hero. Simple chimichurri and your peppers. Wonderful.
Recording in progress.
There you have it. The perfect Sunday lunch for your customers, friends, family. Join me next time in my backyard for more Australian red meat over fire. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Sam. Have a good evening, everybody. Thank you for attending, and thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.